Just so you know, this is going out on YouTube and Facebook and that as well. This one isn't as an exclusive. I've done it as a video as well. But I was wondering, do you know the credits that they have on films and that at the end? Not so much in TV shows, but when they've got films and there's 200 names on the screen at once, and it looks kind of formulated in a way to make a pattern and that. What if that is making a pattern, right? And they've been using that for dozens of years, multiple decades, right? Where they've been using it to try and get patterns in front of our eyes, much like they do with fireworks, possibly, And what they're doing is maybe there's patterns in there. Maybe the names are only important to the people whose names are being mentioned, because they can be like, look, Mum, I'm in the credits. Look, I'm up there. I'm on there. Whereas in reality, everybody that does see that, it's just doing something to the brain. It's putting in messages, them black lines, and that maybe our brains are susceptible to the equivalent of a QR code or something like that, where maybe it wouldn't be actual QR code, but maybe that's where we've gotten that idea from, that we could use that to move information around, because people have been doing it to us for decades through films. Because if you think about it, some of the biggest films now, the biggest blockbusters, are all the Marvel films. Like some of the bigger Marvel films anyway, like Endgame and Infinity War and Spider-Man and blah blah blah. And they've all got little reasons to sit there through the credits. Now, obviously that could be a way of just getting people to see the credits, because maybe people who make films are, for whatever reason, egotistical or something like that. I'm not sure. But what if it's so that we get a message put into our heads through the credits, or there's something going on with the music? Because sometimes you hear music in the credits that aren't actually in the films as well, weird noises and that, and weird songs that don't seem to have anything to do with it. So what if that's putting us into some form of trance-like state, let's say, and then we start to take stuff in that we didn't know we were taking in? And that's why the credits can feel like they last longer than the films sometimes, especially when you're waiting for them end credit scenes and you've not had a pisser out like that. But and it's not just Marvel that are doing it, mate. I've noticed it's in other films as well, mate. Now, I watched Prey the other day, and I can't remember it being on Prey, but it was on Lightyear. I watched that Buzz Lightyear film the other day. That had some end credit scenes in it. Now, why are they doing it? They're not building some metaverse, a big universe of all the different Toy Story characters, who they're based on. They're not doing Woody's Roundup next and Jessie and Jessie would be in Woody's Roundup, I guess, but they're not going to be like, let's, because I think he's dead, that guy that was in Cheers, who used to sit at they all sat at the bar in Cheers, but the guy that did the name of the pig, the voice of the pig who was in Cheers, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they're not going to be getting him out and fucking dragging him out to do a Mr. Piggy film or whatever the fuck the piggy bank was called, are they? Ham. I think he was called Ham, actually. I think he was called Ham. But what are these messages that they are trying to get in the credits, mate? Because there's got to be something there. What's changed in society since Marvel started putting these things at the end of films? But I think, I don't think he was even the first. Didn't Ferris Bueller do it? Wasn't Ferris Bueller one of the first to do it, where he comes up to you and he's like, what are you doing still here? The film's over, leave. Because that became a trope that they did in other films. And that's a massive film, mate. And if anything, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was a massive way of trying to fucking indoctrinate people and trying to make them see the world in a certain way. Enjoy working, and you don't go to school if you don't want to. And maybe Ferris Bueller is one of the reasons why America has one of the worst education systems in the world. Possibly, I'm not too sure, but I think it's something to do with the credits. Because if you sit and watch them, right, and go soft focus at them, mate, sometimes you can sort of see patterns within them and lines and that, and it looks like these words. I've also wondered, could it be a way where newspaper sales are down, aren't they? So if you go now into a paper's shop and you buy a paper, it's a bit suspicious, isn't it? Because back in the day when spies would go and buy newspapers to see for the messages that had been left there by the bosses, they could at least do it under the guise of, I'm only buying this for the tits. But now they don't even have breasts in them. There's no page 3 anymore. There's no women with the fake tits on show. They were very rarely, I don't think, real boobs, but they always had the fake tits out and big, like, fucking, the nipples on show, mate. So you could be like, I only buy it for the nipple. I love a bit of nipple, that's why I buy it. My wife never shows me hers anymore. Or when I look at them, I don't like how they look because they're pointing at the carpet. I like them looking at me, like bullets. And you're saying that to the guy behind the counter at the paper shop, and he's thinking, you're overcompensating for something here. Now, the guy behind the paper shop just thinks you might be a closeted homosexual, but in reality, you could have been a spy, right? And you're buying that newspaper to get these messages, and you work out these messages, and you're like, right, I've got to be at the third bridge down from, quadrant 75 in the spy manual that I got given when I got my job, maybe. But now, newspapers are not as, it's a bit more obvious. It would be easier to pick out the spy, wouldn't it? Because say you're walking down the street and you see 5 people carrying a newspaper, you'd be like, well, there's a good chance one of them might be a spy, because they're looking for hidden messages. Now, films, loads of people watch the films, and you can even get the films, streamed now straight to your house, like Black Widow, mate. And I think this Buzz Lightyear film as well, but Black Widow came straight to telly. That was straight on Disney Plus. That didn't go to the cinema. So now the spies can even get the messages in their own homes, and the messages are probably in the credits. They just know what they're looking for. There might be a sequence of number in the dead space between the wording, where it's saying, best boy, gaffer, and all this other stuff. And then when it's got everybody that's involved in a production agency, fucking Joe Bloggs, Jerry McGee, blah blah blah, Tigbiddy Dave, then in the gaps there's like 4, 7, 13, 54, and they're actually like coordinates for his next job. Just a little thought, mate. I just think we probably shouldn't really trust the credits. Like, there's got to be more to it, because nobody's interested in them. There's no point in them. They should just have that as a little thing on a website where if you're interested in filmmaking, you can then go and look up, who was it that they got in to do the special effects for this, because I want them in mind, because they were really good at hiding the hidden messages in the films, and I've got some great hidden messages that I want to hide in my films, so I'm going to hire them. And you just go to the website for the film and you find it, and they don't need it at the end. That's what I'm saying. There's no point in it, so there must be a reason behind it. Anyway, I'll fucking see you in a bit.